Hey boys and girls, lately there's been a few things I've been meaning to put in the squad videos that I just forgot, so I thought I'd get to a few of them now. The first one is these clamps. They I get them from Harbor Freight. If you're fortunate enough to be close enough to a Harbor Freight that you can drive there like I am, you're pretty lucky. They make these clamps in all different sizes. I use them for all different kind of things. The medium ones that I think these are about 16 inches maybe. I use them all over the place. I used one right here on this light. I had an old broken light. I just zip tied it to the end of a clamp. Now I got a spotlight I can put anywhere, do whatever I want to do with it. I use it over here to just very gently set that Dremel tool down on the edge of the table, just enough to hold it in place so it won't vibrate out of the way. And I got myself a little miniature pedestal grinder there, you know. Nothing I'm going to do any heavy duty work with, but it works pretty good. So anyway, the clamps were one of the tips. Now, since I've decided to go into hobby grade radios, I've been learning about motors and capacitors and all kind of stuff. And when I bought the motors that are in the 332 tank right now, I bought the 360s. I had to buy them as part of a unit with it had it's like a water pump thing. It's for fish tanks, I believe, and so I removed that, and then I got the 360 motor, which this is not. This is a stock 380. The 360s are in the other tank, but when it came here, it came out of that, so it didn't have a pinion on it. So I got another motor, and I needed to get the pinion off of it. Okay, so I was looking around for good ways to do it. And it's kind of funny, a friend of mine, I told him I was using a mini torch, and he thought I was using one of these. And I'm not sure if General Patton actually said it, but George C. Scott did when he played Patton. He said, "The British and the Americans are two great peoples that are separated by a common language." So anyway, this is the kind of torch I meant, not the kind you take out on a dark night. And I'm pretty sure everybody has got a couple of these laying around the house. This isn't even the one I use on the tanks. On the tanks, I use this one here. I found it to be a lot better. But I had this one out in the garage, and I found a really good use for it. If you take these motors, on this one, it's the second hole, where it just fits in there. Use the back side so that it's got good support. I set it down on a couple of blocks of steel. You guys will have to figure out what you got at your house. You know, you've got to get creative sometimes. And they're really easy to get off if you just heat them up a little bit. That's all you gotta do. Just put a little flame to them. Get them nice and hot. Keep the flame moving. You don't want to weld anything. You just want to heat up the steel enough to expand it. You gotta kind of work quickly when you get done. Get it nice and hot. I'm just using a regular nail. They'll just pop right down through there. They are hot, boys. Don't grab it with your fingers, okay? That gets them off, no problem. For putting a new pinion on, the whole trick is that shaft runs all the way through that motor. You have to support that shaft right there before you can put any kind of stress on it. You have to make sure that the shaft is straight up and down so you don't bend it. You got to have a touch for this. This isn't something that you're just gonna, I don't know. Some people can't do it. I don't know. The key, like I said, is to make sure that you support that shaft. I put that shaft right down on the corner of the block, and I set the pinion on there. You don't have to heat them when you're putting them back on, but get a decent hammer, one with a little weight to it. Make sure you're straight up and down. Don't be afraid to put a little force on it. Square, it'll go all the way down. If you need to lower it down further than that, I've got a little setup where I hold them, and then I put this sleeve over the top and smack that and push it down a little further. Some of them you have to move on further so that they'll line up right with the gears. So anyway, that's the mini torch trick for taking pinions off of motors. All right. So anyway, like I said, we're getting into hobby grade. So one of the things you got to do is you got to supply power for various things, and it just is handy to have around for bench tests, you know. And like in the hobby grade, I'll have to bind my receiver to my transmitter. I'll have to have a power supply to do that. So I went down to Radio Shack and I got a little battery pack that holds 4 AA batteries. That's 6 volts. This is putting out about 6.5. They sell these bad boys because the battery pack has got a set of terminals on it, just like the old 9-volt batteries. So I bought 5 of these for like $3. And I've already got this one hooked up with a Futaba J plug to plug into the receiver, and it'll just plug onto there. The other ones I'll use for, you know, whatever I need. You got to be careful with this stuff though, guys. Like, this is enough juice to fry a 3mm LED, so you got to watch what you're doing. Be careful. For smaller stuff, I just took the flashlight or torch. That's for you, Pete. I took the pack out of one of those, soldered it on the positive end, and I can hook that to whatever positive I want and then just touch my negative to give 4.5 volts. That's great for testing LEDs, stuff like that. If you have to test gearboxes and stuff, just a regular 9-volt battery works really good. Just got to be careful, because if you start frying stuff, man, it starts getting expensive. You know what I mean? Alright, and the last little thing I got for you guys is I got the S33 up here on the bench because I'm putting new gearboxes in it and getting it ready for the hobby grade radio, which is, since we're on that subject, this right here. This is a Turnigy 9X. I put in the backlight kit, I put in the Smarty board, I got a USB port, I downloaded the firmware for Tank ER9X. I'm just waiting on my RC2TG so we can hook up this Tiger tank to be hobby grade control in an airsoft tank. That's going to be kind of cool. But anyway, what I've done is this is pretty simple actually. I found that these things get dirty. No matter what you do, they're going to get stuff inside them. I don't know how well this will show up on the video, but there's grease and, you know, just, I don't know if it mists or if little gremlins come in at night and make my tank dirty or what, you know. But I found a little trick that works pretty good for RC tanks. I take 3 Q-tips. Can you see those? I grab them like that. I hold them still. I get a piece of masking tape. I set it on there. And I wrap it around. And around and around and around. And a couple days later, when I get done wrapping it around, I've now got a little broom. And it really does work pretty good, guys. I use it, I can get into all places in the tank, and I can get all that crap out of there, and if I drop a screw, I can push it out in the open where I can get a hold of it or whatever. It just works pretty good. When they get dirty, I chuck them away, you know. So anyway, gee, I feel like Martha Stewart. So there you go, guys. There's a few tips I've been meaning to talk about that I've been missing, and when we get into the hobby grade, if you guys want to see it, just let me know. See you next time.